Hey everybody, welcome to the Conscious Love Show. Whether you are single, you are in a relationship, or you're healing a broken heart, this show is here to inspire you, to remind you how beautiful, lovable, and amazing you truly are, and to give you the practical tools and insights to navigate from wherever you are right now to the loving relationship that you so deeply want to have. My name is Shane Kohler. I'm a certified transformational coach and trainer with over a decade experience helping people release their trauma and open their hearts to love. I've delivered seminars all over the world, coached thousands of people through my online platforms and programs, and every week I'm coming straight to you with the hottest insights and the best teachers around, bringing you powerful resources and profound conversations to heal your relationship with love, dating, and yourself. I'm so grateful you're here, and if it's your first time, welcome. You can count on me to always show up for you with my very best and a commitment to learn and grow myself so I can serve you to my maximum ability. Thanks so much for tuning into the show. I've got some awesome things planned for you today. So without further ado, let's dive in. So I'm gonna start with this question from Nicole. How to learn to self-soothe and not let anxiety ruin a healthy relationship? It's a beautiful question. I think it's very relatable for so many people. So thank you for asking, Nicole. I think the most important thing here is that we're not talking about something you can think your way through. This is the problem with anxiety, is we try to solve our anxiety with more anxiety. Where does anxiety exist? It exists in your thoughts, right? It also exists in your body, but there's a feedback loop, right? There's a feeling of anxiety in your body that triggers your thoughts. Your thoughts try to resolve the anxiety, which intensifies the feeling in your body, and it becomes a self-perpetuating loop. It shows up in the body. So if you can feel through it in the body, your thoughts never really need to get involved. This is the problem with when we try to learn to self-soothe, is we're often trying to self-soothe by thinking our way out of it, but thinking is only exacerbating the issue. Something I say to my clients all the time: out of the mind, into the body. I want you to remember that, Nicole. Out of the mind, into the body. You cannot resolve anxiety in your thoughts. You can only resolve it by feeling it. So let's talk about what it actually is. Anxiety is a physiological response to some stimulus that says, I'm not safe. And I'm going to take a really basic example from like anxious attachment that is very common for so many people. Let's say when you were a child, when you were a little kid, this is kind of the basic, this is the basis of anxious attachment. When you were a child, your caregiver, your mother, your father, whoever, maybe both, your caregiver was inconsistent. Like, I think about my mom. My mom loved me. She was kind. She was supportive. She, tried to be a good mom in a lot of ways, but she was inconsistent. So she was a single mother. She was 19 years old. She had to go to work. She had to go to school. I would be dropped off at daycare. I would be dropped off with different babysitters, different friends. I was always kind of getting schlepped around to one place or another, whoever I needed to be with. So while I loved my mom, and while my mom was great when she was around, her presence was inconsistent. I never knew when I was going to see her. I never knew how long I was going to be with her for. When I was with her, I really, really liked being with her, but I also felt this tension that this isn't going to last for very long, and tomorrow I'm going to get schlepped off to daycare again. And so there was this constant scarcity around my relationship with her. And this is basically as far back as I can remember. I remember this feeling like 2 years old, 3 years old. Feeling like I'm so happy my mom's here, but she's going to leave again soon. That's kind of the foundation or the basis of developing an anxious attachment. It's when you have a loving but inconsistent caregiver. And my dad wasn't even around, so all I had was my mom. So what happens then is you develop this nervous system pattern, this nervous system wiring that says, I need to control love because I don't trust it. It's not stable. It's not safe. It's not consistent. It comes in short bursts and then it gets ripped away again. And so you develop this survival adaptation that says, I need to control love. And how do we control love? We do it through people pleasing. We do it through fawning. We do it through withholding our truth, not using our voice. We do it through staying in situations that we should have walked away from. We do it through like manipulative tactics like passive aggression and emotional manipulation and like emotionally punishing people when they don't do what we want them to do or when they don't show up for us. There are all these different adaptations that we develop to try to control love. And all of that is part of anxious attachment. It's funny, we tend to think of anxious attachment as being more the victim and avoidant attachment being more the perpetrator. Anxious attachment can actually get very toxic. In its darkest levels, it becomes deeply manipulative, deeply controlling, even abusive. There have been situations where somebody with anxious attachment would literally like block the door and not let somebody leave because they couldn't handle the idea of their partner stepping out. So like anxious attachment can get very, very toxic. Now, how do we self-soothe? How do we self-regulate? So if you're in a relationship with someone and that person is doing something that represents or reflects the pattern that you had in childhood that kind of started that anxious attachment, so the inconsistency, and often what happens when we have a wounded attachment style like this is even a secure person can't meet our attachment needs because we've become so sensitive to it over the years of carrying this, right? We've been carrying this wound for so long. It's become such a knee-jerk reaction to our experiences that even a secure person can't tend to our needs because they're so overactive. And so any amount of inconsistency, any amount of instability, even something like that person going out with their friends, or even something like that person going to work for the day, or even something like them being busy and not being able to respond on their phone. Any amount of this triggers our insecurity. So to your question, even in a healthy relationship, even with a secure partner, the anxious attachment still gets activated because there's still a human being who has other needs and priorities in a life. So what happens is that person goes to work for the day, or they're out with their friends, or they're busy and they get caught up and they don't respond to a text message, or whatever the situation might be. Something that reflects that inconsistency. And now your body is responding to your partner the same way your body would have responded to your parents when you were a child. Now what's happening is your mind comes online. And your mind starts trying to control the dynamic. What do I need to do to get their attention? What do I need to do to get them to respond? What do I need to do to make sure that they'll show up more? What do I need to do to make sure that they'll never leave me? So the wound is triggered in the body. The wound is triggered in the nervous system. It's a fundamental feeling of I'm not safe. The mind comes online to try to fix the feeling. The body says, I'm not safe. The mind says, I'm going to make you safe. I'm going to make you safe by being controlling, by being passive aggressive, by being emotionally manipulative, by fawning, by people pleasing, by all these strategies. The thing to do is to stop trying to resolve it through the mind. This is the hardest part. This is the hardest part of the whole thing, because you've got to literally break the habit of rumination, of mental control, of strategizing, of thinking, how do I prove myself? How do I get love? What do I need to do? Who do I need to be? Should I call? Should I not call? But you see, all of those strategies, all of the mental chatter around it is an attempt to avoid the discomfort that you're feeling in your body. So self-soothing, self-regulation is literally about sitting with the feeling in your body. When I go back to the story I told earlier about the 6-month relationship I was in with the woman, she wanted an open relationship. When I look back to that experience, self-soothing, self-regulating was one of the most important things I learned in that experience. Because I wanted to call her, but I couldn't. We had an agreement. She got to live her life. She got to do her thing. I didn't get to be a part of that, right? So I wanted to call her. I wanted her attention. I wanted that consistency. I wanted that security. But per our agreement, that wasn't allowed. And so I had to literally sit with what it felt like to be in her absence. I had to surrender to that feeling without trying to control it, without trying to manipulate it, without trying to get her attention, without trying to get her validation. I learned to let it go and to sit with that feeling. So Nicole, going back to your question, you've got to let it go and learn to sit with the feeling. So it might look something like this. Whatever happens in this relationship happens. If the person stays, they stay. If the person leaves, they leave. I'm not going to try to control any particular outcome of this. I'm not going to try to get their attention. I'm not going to try to get their validation. I'm going to let this relationship be and let it come to its natural outcome. And I'm going to trust that whatever that natural outcome is the best possible thing for me and the best possible thing for them. Then what you do is you sit with what that feels like. When I stop trying to get their approval, when I stop trying to get their attention, when I stop trying to orchestrate the circumstances to meet my attachment needs, when I stop trying to control things or manipulate things or curate this relationship towards a certain outcome, what does it feel like in my body to just let it go? And you might find that you get wrapped up in your thoughts again. Well, what about this? What about this? What about this? And so you catch yourself in deep breath, back into the body. What does it feel like to just let it go? To stop trying to control it, to stop trying to orchestrate it, to stop trying to lead it to a certain outcome. What does that feel like in my body? Because here's the thing, and this is the most important part of all of it. The whole time, the whole anxious pattern that you've been living in and that you've been carrying from one relationship to another, to another, to another, and all of the anxious strategies that end up sabotaging love. All it was ever designed to do was protect you from a feeling. All it was ever designed to do was avoid a feeling that you weren't comfortable holding in your body. So now what you're doing is you're teaching your body on a somatic level that it is safe to feel this. This isn't an intellectual exercise. It's not something you can read in a book or listen to in a podcast. It's something you have to feel in your bones. It is safe to feel this in my body. I don't need to avoid this. I don't need to protect myself from this. I don't need to control circumstances so this never happens. It is safe to feel this in my body. And let's say the relationship does fall apart. Let's say they don't choose you. Let's say they're too busy. Let's say they like someone else, whatever. Even then, what are you afraid of? You're afraid of a feeling. You're afraid of what it's going to feel like when they leave. What it's going to feel like when you lose them. So maybe you imagine that. You say, okay, maybe they don't choose me. Maybe this relationship doesn't work out. Maybe I lose them. What would that feel like? And then you start to sit with that. And once again, you teach yourself, I don't need to protect myself from this feeling. not like a concept, like it's in my bones, like a breathing, living experience in my body. The more safe you become holding those feelings will naturally translate to you being less anxious. And then when it comes to the relationship, it becomes very simple. I speak my truth. I ask for what I need. I set my boundaries. And I see if this person can meet me where I need to be met. The anxiety won't let you speak your truth. It won't let you ask for what you need. It won't let you create your boundaries, because every time you do that, it creates friction in the relationship that might lead to you losing it. But when you can learn to feel safe with all of these feelings, now you can show up in the relationship as your whole integrated, authentic self. And this relationship will either receive you as you are or it won't. So that's how you do it, Nicole. I hope I broke that down as clearly as I possibly could. I hope that landed for you. Thank you for the question. It's a wonderful question, very relatable, something a lot of us experience. Thanks again for checking out the show. Please subscribe on whatever platform you listen to podcasts on the most. And I would love it so much if you leave a review and tell people what you think of us. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram @TheLivingRelationship to connect more closely. And I'm grateful to be supporting you on your journey to love.